Welcome back to the channel, and today's video is about continuing on with that Iraqi Army infantry build and how I prep them for painting and priming. Sorry. So let me just knock one over. What I do first is just get the bases laid out like that, and then I have the little diagram. I'll zoom out again. Have the little diagram there, that's sort of the idea of the way they put them out, but I don't always follow that. But it just sort of gives you a bit of a guide, and I'll just put them close by, all next to each other, and then I just grab one of the figures. I use a larger file, a more sort of chunky file, and I just smooth off the base of each model. Then you can use a file as well, but I just go around with a hobby knife and just trim up any flashing on them. Just have a look over the model, like he's got a bit of flashing there on his hand, and then that pistol, and then I'll just trim that up. And Battlefront stuff like Flames of War, Team Yankee, they have a variety of poses, and then I just look on the bases that I've got and just sort of decide where I want to put the soldiers. So I'll just bring them back into the picture a bit better. Sorry, that light's not the best. And I'll just sort of have a look and go, okay, so there's a crouching guy here, and there's a standing guy, a couple of RPGs on the smaller bases, which are RPG bases, and I just sort of work it out from there. I go, okay, so this base hasn't got anyone on it yet, but I might put that guy there, but I might put him up there to make it look like, and put him on a bit of an angle, look like he's talking back to maybe someone back here or someone over here. And then I just repeat that process, just pick up a guy, have a look at him, file off the bottom, smooth it out, make sure the base is nice and flat on the bottom. Just look for any other flashing, and his machine gun, there's a little bit, so you can see there's a piece of flashing. I'll just trim that up just with the hobby knife and have a look around, make sure I'm happy with them. And I try and get maybe a guy like this shooting sort of with a rifle in his shoulder on every base if I can, and then sort of guys like this that just sort of got it down to that waist position, that waist height. I'll try and get them onto a couple bases as well, and I just repeat that process. And then once I've got them all on the bases, if I'm not happy with them, I'll shuffle them around a bit. So it's just using a file, the hobby knife, a thinner file if there was flashing on the helmets or whatever. So if I pick up a guy here and I thought his helmet wasn't quite tidy, I'll use a fairly small file and just go across his helmet and his head. Same process underneath. I use a flat edge, I use a triangular file that's got some nice flat edges on it. I just run that across the bottom, and then of course you can use a file to trim up flashing around the edges of them. But tidying up the bottom, you just get a real good flat finish and a real good bond. So he's crouching down, so I sort of look across the bases and I'm like, oh, you know, there's a guy crouching on this one, so I don't want two crouching, but there's a guy standing here, so I might put a crouching guy there. So and I'll just keep working away at it, and just, you know, no, nothing too hard. And then when it comes to gluing them down, so I'm happy with these guys, the position they're in, but you know, I'm just speeding up this process a bit for the video, so the video is not long. Then I would just lift up whoever I'm happy with, put a bit of glue, super glue underneath them. Of course it's not going to work, is it? My apologies. Store-bought super glue, so nothing fancy. I'm sure I've got another tube here somewhere. My apologies for that. Unorganised, you know. So I'll put a bit of glue there, and then I'll just base him there. That was a little bit too much glue. Then if I'm happy where this guy is, put a little glue on the base, and I'll base them down. So this is what I do pre priming. And this guy, I'm happy with him there, so I'll glue him there. This guy, happy with him. So and just go, I'll just go along and just do that to everyone. So I'll continue that off camera, and that's how I get them ready for priming. So just a standard store-bought super glue, a couple of files, just a thin file, and then a thicker file for the bases that's got a real nice flat edge on it, and a smaller file for any little areas you want to clean up, and then just the hobby knife for trimming up around the bottom or cutting, flashing off any of the rifles or anything that you might find on the end of the rifles. So, and that's how I get them ready for priming. So yeah, I've probably mentioned that 1,000 times. So I'll go through and just finish up the rest of them and off camera, and they'll be ready. So once the weather's a little bit cooler, we'll prime them, and then we'll get back onto that Lav 25 build. Thanks for watching.